Welcome to Punta Cana. Now this is actually our second video that we have done on this area, but like we mentioned in our first video, we were going to share with you really what our thoughts were after being here for an entire month. But not only that, we're going to show you around the complex where we chose to stay, give you a little bit of a tour of our condo, but also just share really kind of what in the end, after all this time, what we thought about it.
What we thought about everything we get to do here, but also how much we spent.
Yeah.
Not only on the condo, but on food and everything else we spent money on. How much of this month here in Punta Cana cost us?
Now this is actually a pretty large complex. There are a lot of different units in here. We can only speak on the unit we stayed in when we're sharing our reviews, but as far as the complex goes, we would definitely speak as a whole. We'll be able to kind of tell you what we felt about this whole area. In here, you're gonna have two pools. One of them is just right behind me right here, and then one is further back. This one is located the closest to the water and the one we use the most.
Right, and you mentioned security. Now, we've got these bracelets that some of you have noticed in our first video. These are not all-inclusive bracelets by any means.
We wish.
These are for the security guys to recognize that we belong here, that we paid to be here, and I'll tell you what, they are very courteous.
They're great, yeah, and you're not getting in and out of either the gate that is going to take you out to the beach or to get into the complex from the road without being able to show that bracelet or a card if you're here long term.
Right, I'd also like to point out, we paid full price for this,
Yeah.
so the price we're going to quote you is the full price that we paid. This is not sponsored in any way.
We wish. Okay, so now we are out in front of the property where we come out. We're on the gorgeous white beach. Out here has been wonderful. They have all of the Chase lounges, which because you're staying here and you have that little bracelet on, you can use those Chase lounges. They also have a restaurant right in front of the complex as well. We've really just gone there for beers, so we can't speak anything on the food, but we hear great things about it, so it might be really good. But the people here have been so great. There have been times we've come out to get a chair, which you can see right now, they're all really empty. It's a quiet time of year. But they have come over and like set up the chairs for us, got them all ready, put the pads on them. So I would say that we give an absolute double thumbs up for just the staff here has been wonderful. Okay, so now we want to give you a tour of our place. As you saw when we were walking up, we have this nice seating area out here. We've got a couple of fans, which is really great because the bugs are no joke here in the Caribbean. So anyways, this is our living / kitchen / dining space. It's been totally suitable as far as our needs. One of the things, we do have a regular size coffee maker. We have appreciated that very much. We do cook in here a lot, which we'll talk about a little bit when we go through our costs and what we spent. And then the other nice thing that's kind of cool, we do have the water here. You don't drink the water here, so you do have to have it come in like this. We also use our filtered bottles all the time. But anyways, they just deliver these to you and it is really inexpensive. Okay, so now we're gonna go back and take a look at what else we have here. We have the bathroom, very important. It's been great. We really just use cold water for the showers because you don't need hot water. Now this is a 1-bedroom. There is a owner's room here that is locked, but then it's got 2 beds in here and ceiling fan. And so, yeah, we've been very happy with this place.
Now, some of you might not care for the 2-bed situation, but I toss and turn. So Carrie was grateful that we each got our own bed.
We actually are both so hot at night that it has not been so bad having 2 spaces because we're moving around a lot to get some airflow.
Okay, so there's our place. We're gonna tell you exactly how much we spent on that. But for a budget person, somebody that wants to come in, they're on a very strict budget, expect to pay here in Bavara Beach about $50 to $80 a night.
And then if you want to kind of be that mid-range, you're going to be $90 to $150. And then for those all-inclusives that some of you thought we had, you know, you're really kind of paying anywhere from $150 and up. We saw some places where it's like $600 per person per night. So you can definitely fit that wherever you have in your budget.
You got to spend it,
out of our
right?
range.
So for our stay, how much did this place cost us for 29 nights we paid $2,150.
And then the other thing that you do need to be aware of when you're coming, especially if you're staying longer. Now, if you're shorter term stays, like less than a week, sometimes this isn't the case, but you do have to pay for the electric charges here. And in the Dominican Republic, they're pretty steep. So here we actually kept it pretty low. We are going to come in at $116, and that is for the 29 nights. So it averages about $4 a day.
Yes.
But the one thing we're going to add, we did not use the use the AC.
We did not use the AC.
Yeah.
Now, if we look sticky and sweaty right now, there's a reason for it. This is also why Carrie likes the 2 beds, is because I don't rub up against her.
It's gross.
And she gets all slimy and gross.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did not use the air conditioning. So if you are going to use the air conditioning, expect to pay probably double what we paid for
Easily double. And I just wanted to add there that that is, they tell you right up front, if you use the AC, that is where you're going to see your price really skyrocket up. And that was our reasoning behind that. So to each their own. Now, eating out in the area, if you want to go and check out some of the restaurants and kind of get off of the beach area and more into town, you're going to be paying about $10 to $15 per person per meal.
Yeah, now if you want to stay in the tourist areas, go to that little beach bar out there. Some of the places that we tourists tend to go to, you're going to spend about $15 to $30 for that meal.
And then the beer prices, everybody always asks us, and that's something we're always interested. If we can tell you anything about the beer prices, our beer drinking has been way less while we've been here, and there's good reason behind that. It costs you about $3.70 and up. That was actually kind of the lowest price we were finding for a small, or we'll say regular size bottle of beer.
Yeah. So you would think that we'd save a lot of money this month on beer alone, but we're going to get to why we didn't save money here
in that area.
In that area, and here, later on the video. Stay tuned for that, because I'm a little bit embarrassed about it, but then again, I'm really not.
Another thing to be aware of is when you do go out to eat or even just have that beer, automatically you are charged 18% tax on top of that, and then you also are charged a 10% service charge. Now, we see that service charge as a tip. It's a lot of people I know still will continue to tip. They really don't ask for it on the receipt or anything, so to us that is part of the tip.
Yeah, we haven't done anything like that. You know, we do a Taco Tuesday, and we'll get to that also. Great staff. These guys have been great. They know us a little bit now, because we got 5 Tuesdays in this month.
Yeah,
which was kind of cool.
We may as well just talk about it now.
Let's talk about it right now.
So that has been our go-to, and our host actually had told us about, or the property management had told us about the Taco Tuesday place is a nice walk down the beach, and it's right on the beach, and 2 for 1. And so, you know, we can walk out of there spending maybe $30, but that was for a bucket of beers.
For a bucket of beers,
yeah, which was
6
$17.
beers.
Yeah, that was $17 for a bucket of beers. And then our tacos are only $1.70 each for the tacos, and they're quite good for that. Yeah, so we do splurge on that. So we'll get into what we fully spent and let you know. But yeah, that was kind of where it all went.
So for 29 nights, eating out, which includes all those Taco Tuesdays, we spent $195.
Totally worth it. Yeah, so we did the majority of our time we were eating in, we were cooking in.
It was totally worth it because, like we said, we don't use air conditioning, and Carrie's in the kitchen cooking, and it gets hot in there.
It's so hot.
And once she's done cooking, we eat dinner, and then I have to go in there and I have to clean the kitchen, which isn't quite as bad as cooking dinner, but it still gets pretty warm.
Pretty warm.
So eating out was worth it. So when you eat in as much as we do, you need to go to the grocery store. Sometimes those grocery stores can be hard to find or hard to get to. Now, we had a little local grocery store right down the road from us that we use most of the time, and you could expect to spend between $300 to $600 just depending on what you're buying at that little type of grocery store, but there are bigger grocery stores that might be better options.
Yeah, there are bigger grocery stores, and when he's quoting the pricing, it is going to be for a couple is what we're talking about, just because we're a couple. But at those bigger grocery stores, which the ones here is I think the Jumbo and the Sienna, you can get away spending definitely a lot less than the smaller ones. It's the convenience factor of having it right outside of our complex, and the other we would have had to get into a Uber or taxi and had those additional costs on top of that. Now, one of the things that we did do is we did use the Uber app, Uber Eats, where we could order from the grocery store, and we did that a few times. It's very hit and miss. You would put in your order, and a lot of time we would put in a full order for a bunch of stuff, and none of the meat would come. which we found it very hard to believe that their entire grocery store was out of meat.
I think the Uber driver didn't want to have more than he could carry,
Well, he's
which
on a bike,
makes
so.
sense. You know, it's a safety factor maybe. So anyway, we kind of got away from that early on. You can save money though just by not buying your name brands, buy local brands. Stay away from those brands that you might find back home.
Now for us for the month, what we spent in that, like we said, included a few orders that we did order from the bigger grocery store, but I think they probably weighed out with being the same price because they jack them up just a little bit with that service, was $395. That was majority. We ate in probably 95% of the time, and like we said, that had us shopping at the little convenience store that was near us.
Now, if you hear a little fan going in the background, we did bring a fan in because we don't use that air conditioning. And,
So gross.
and so we did have, so if you hear a little humming,
That's what it is.
that's what it is.
Now, what about transportation? When you do need to get around, we have done very little getting around because when you're here, you don't need to really go far. You're going to go out to the beach. And so what we did have was if you're going to need to get from the airport, you're going to need a transfer. You can do a private transfer, which is going to run you around $30 to $50 is what we chose to do.
Yes, and we chose to do that because we like to see our name on that placard when we come out of customs. I love to see my name. I've yet to see my name. I think I mentioned this in the last video. It's always Carrie's name and never my name. So if you choose to do it and you're a couple, make sure both names are on there. It's just more fun.
They go off who books it. You can keep saying that.
That's my rant. That's my rant.
And so then the other option is you could do, say you're coming as a solo person and you don't need the privates, you can do a shared shuttle where they may stop at a few different locations, and that's going to run you around $15, so pretty affordable.
And if you're a solo person, you only need that one name on that placard.
The other option is Uber. You can do an Uber, which actually we found Uber prices to be very reasonable here. They were going to run you about $3 to $8 depending on the length of the trip that you were going to be going.
There are also,
as an estimate for us, I looked at going to the grocery store and it was going to be $6 each way. So it was actually quite affordable to do. You just didn't want to do that over and over because it really adds up.
Right, that's why we used Uber Eats. It was just as expensive either way. There are taxi cabs as well, $10 to $15 depending on where you're going. They're not metered though, so make sure you negotiate that price ahead of time.
Okay, so for transportation for the month, like we mentioned, all we used was we needed the transfer from the airport to our place here, and that cost us $30.
How much money did we spend on excursions and extra activities? There's a lot to choose from. You will have anything you can think of. I mean, I think snorkeling is probably a big deal here. The party boats. There's a lot to choose from. We chose to do none of it.
Yeah.
It's just not our shtick. We just choose not to do it. We have things we like to do, and that's where our money goes. But if you choose to go on excursions, there's a ton of them.
Right. Okay, so now we're going to get on to some of those miscellaneous costs that we have while we were here. And these things are just things you are going to need if you are traveling. We did need to have cell service. We have Wi-Fi on our place, but when we're out and about, we like to have our service. And so we both have an eSIM. It's quite affordable. We spent $12 for the entire month for both of us because we do a global plan, so that's just kind of factored out. It can go up if you use more data.
Yeah.
So, and for any of these things that we do use, we will have the links down below if you would like to check them out.
Now, a couple items we normally don't spend money on, but we had to this month, mainly more Carrie than me. But bug spray and sunscreen. We spent, how much did we spend on bug spray and sunscreen?
So the bug spray here is going to range you about, and sunscreen, about $15 to $20 a bottle. We easily spend $75 on that. I have had to coat myself in bug spray. I carry bug spray with me, or bug repellent, and it has worked no problem every place else we've been, but here, they're a whole different breed, and I am coated in deep wood spray 24/7. So
and I don't use it at all. So
No.
when she goes into the bathroom and she's putting all this bug spray on, I walk in there 5 minutes later and I feel like a cockroach. I almost land on my back and start dying. That's how bad it is.
And I'm not the only one because there's been a few places in our travels I've been bothered, but there are other people. It is a tropical climate. It's very just lush and a lot of greenery and stuff. And after it rains, it is really bad. So just be aware of that if you can bring it with you, great. If you can't, then just expect to pay those prices when you get
Another
here.
good reason to have 2 beds. You don't, the person that does not need the bug spray
I'm coated in bug
doesn't have to
spray.
sleep next to the person that does.
All right, now medical care. Now we normally don't have this. This is kind of just one of those fluke things that comes up, but we did both decide to go to the dentist. I had a tooth that had kind of been, I was just kind of wanted them to check it out, and I figured why not? There's a place right outside of our condo complex. And so I went first and had a checkup done. The checkup was $30 US, and then the x-rays were $10 US, and then decided to have a cleaning, and that was only $50.
Yeah, and I went and got a cleaning as well for the same price. And I like getting my teeth cleaned.
I hate it.
Carrie hates it.
It's horribly,
I
I
like
have sensitive
it.
teeth.
I
and it
feel
hurts.
when I get my teeth cleaned and I walk out of there, I feel like a responsible adult.
He did
I feel like I
something
did
responsible for the
something
day.
that adults do, and that's get their teeth cleaned. And they were great.
They were
did a
great. We
job.
would absolutely highly recommend the place that we went to. We will go ahead and put just the name of the place down below. Like we said, we have no affiliation with them whatsoever. But when we do find good dental care on the road, that is something we like to share, because if you need dental care, and the pricing was so great. And like he said, I am a wuss when it comes to dentists, but my teeth are very sensitive, and she did an absolutely fantastic job.
I do need to floss.
That
But
was
they
you.
always say that.
Didn't
They
say it to
always
me.
say that. Now, one of the things you have to have when you travel is a VPN. Don't forget that. The one we use only costs us $3.50 a month.
Yeah, it is a must-have, and we needed it here many, many times. There was a lot of sites we were not able to access, especially on our Fire Stick for our shows that we wanted to watch. We could not get into many of them without having it turned on, so definitely get that. Now, the other thing that we needed was our health insurance. We always have health insurance when we're outside of the States, and the company that we went through, it was $280 for both of us for the month. Some people may think that that is high, but you know what? It's peace of mind of knowing that any of those unexpecteds are taken care of, and we just don't have to worry.
With all the health issues I've had in the last 6 months, I need it.
He definitely needs
Yes.
it. It's something we definitely
I'm
not living
55
with him.
now,
With him.
so
He is,
you never
yeah.
know what could happen.
Yeah. Now, I should say that part of that our eating out budget included Brian's dinner out for his birthday. So,
Yes.
Yeah, we had to celebrate.
Yes, we had to celebrate my birthday.
Now,
That's
you
very
also,
important.
he's also celebrated in another way this month. What did you find here that you've spent some money on?
I knew already that the Dominican Republic was one of your big 4 when it comes to countries that have cigars. So I did spend some of my birthday money on cigars. I justify everything that I spend my money on. I didn't drink very much beer this month. I didn't go on any excursions. So I spent about dollars,
Yeah.
about $200 on cigars. I do have some left, so those will carry over into next month. So I got that going for me. Don't
Yeah.
judge, though. Don't judge.
Yeah, so that was kind of where some of the beer money went, but then also when you were talking earlier about extra money we spent elsewhere, that was in our grocery money, and that was the other thing they're known here
Yeah,
for is the
yeah,
rum.
they get rum,
and so
too.
we've, instead of having our beer, we have been enjoying on our nice deck, or we take our drinks down to the beach. We have been enjoying having some rum drinks,
We've
so
got
that's
some
been
rum.
really good.
Yeah, so I guess, I don't know, I guess maybe I can't justify those cigars, maybe not. But when
He
you're in the
will either
Dominican
way.
Republic, you've got to have a couple cigars. Even if you're not a cigar smoker, you got to at least try it.
So now, what have we found as the pros while we've been here for a month? And this, we're covering Punta Cana, but we're really covering the Bavaro Beach area because that's where we're staying. I would say the number one pro for us has just been, and this is considering this is off season, just the white sandy beaches. They've been fairly quiet. We haven't had a whole lot of crowds. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
crowds because it is a touristy area, but it hasn't been bad.
I would say for the most part, it's been pretty quiet. Yeah, the beaches are great. The weather's been great. We do get rain every once in a while, but that's sometimes refreshing.
Right,
So
yeah.
it's not so bad. You know, I would say for the money we spent, and we'll get to that, this has been wonderful.
Yeah, and that is the other advantage of coming in that off season is that you are getting the lower pricing on your condos and at their hotels and everything than what you would pay in that higher season. So I think that that's a huge thing to look at as well. You've got to kind of deal with some of the cons to deal with those pros as well.
And also the security, not just the security here in our complex, but up and down the beach as well. Every place has their security team, but there are also local police officers roaming the beaches, which has been great.
And with that said, because some people will jump to the impression because there's all this security that it's not safe, or maybe we didn't feel safe. There has not been one time that I have not felt safe while we were here.
Yeah.
We obviously do our normal things. You're not out walking late at night on the back streets or whatever, you know. But I've gone walking by myself. I've gone walking outside of the complex by myself to go to the grocery store and stuff. And there has not been one time that I have felt uncomfortable.
I haven't gone anywhere by myself. There's no way. Taking Carrie with me.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's get on to the cons. The number one con of coming this time of year to Bavaro Beach, or to really a lot of places in the Caribbean, let's just put it out there, is the seaweed problem. Unfortunately, this year is one of the absolute worst years that they have seen, and we have witnessed that.
Yeah, and they do a remarkable job trying to keep up, but I'll tell you what, each wave brings in more. So they do their best. But it is definitely a con. It's not just you don't want to look at it, but it's also you can smell it too. So it's been a little bit of a bummer, but we expected it. We knew it was going to be here. So it is what it is.
Yeah. And I would say another con, like we mentioned, is having to pay for your electricity when you are staying. That is just an additional cost that kind of can put you on edge of not really knowing what that bill is going to be. Like I said, ours ended up being less than we anticipated going in because we didn't know. But you know, I think we had the AC on, we would have seen a whole different bill. So, you know, a lot of us like to have, especially if we're budgeting travel, you want to know what your bill is going to be.
You want to know what it's going to be.
Not that unexpected cost.
Now, Punta Cana is obviously a tourist destination. With tourist destinations, the prices are going to go up, and you find that here. There are beach vendors all up and down the beach. They can be a little bit aggressive. You might have to say no gracias 2 or 3 times. As opposed to just once, but they're trying to earn a living, so you get it, but expect it when you get here.
I would also say another con that we noticed is there's really not a whole lot that you're going to do outside of, say, your resort and then the beach area. So when we're going to go do anything, we walk down to the beach and we hang out on the beach and walk, you know, I mean, a couple miles each direction, and that's where you're going to spend your time. But as far as like finding other things in a town, you're going to need to get transportation to go anywhere.
Right. So with all that being said, the costs, the pros, the cons, everything that we went through this month, was it worth it? How much was it?
Yeah, so how much was it? It was $3,396.50, which is a higher month for us. We knew that obviously going in what it was going to cost us because it is a touristy area. So we paid a bit more for our complex that we were staying in, but we wanted to be right on the beach and have that access.
You do pay a bit more for cigars too. You're paying maybe $5 plus more per stick than you maybe used to paying. I knew that at the time. He wouldn't negotiate with me at all. He was very nice. He claimed to be Robinson Cano's brother. I don't believe him, but he was a nice guy. Again, he's on a beach in a shop right off the beach, so you pay a little bit more.
Yeah, so I would say, going back to like, was it worth it? I think it was worth it. We've absolutely enjoyed our time here. It has been a wonderful complex to stay in. It was super relaxing. We really just kind of had a month of really chill days, and it was something we kind of needed and what we were looking for.
Yeah, I felt like a beach bum most of the time.
Now this kind of covered our cost. It covered the stuff about our month here. But if you want to know, like, you're going to be traveling to Punta Cana or really kind of the Dominican Republic, you want to watch our first video, because there are some rules and restrictions and some entry things that you need to do before you come. So we're not going to cover those in this video, but make sure and check that video out.
Thank you for watching. We very much appreciate each and every one of you. Consider the thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, come and join us. We'd love to have you. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.